My precious chosen one, this is not a coincidence. March 9th has been circled in the spirit realm long before you ever looked at a calendar. And now, as you hear these words, the clock of heaven is ticking. Your grace period for a major decision is almost over. 60 seconds in the spiritual realm can change the direction of an entire lifetime. And Archangel Michael stands at the edge of your destiny, wings extended, waiting for your response. This is not fear. This is urgency wrapped in mercy. There has been a covering over you. Invisible, powerful, protective. You walked through storms that should have crushed you. You avoided traps you never even saw. Doors closed that later revealed themselves to be disasters in disguise. That was not luck. That was the shadow of mighty wings guarding your path. But listen carefully. Protection is not automatic. It responds to alignment. It responds to obedience. It responds to your willingness to move when heaven says move. March 9th is a spiritual deadline. Not because God desires to punish you, but because divine seasons shift. Grace hath been holding space for your decision. Heaven hath delayed certain consequences. Angels have been standing at intersections, redirecting harm away from you. Yet the time of hesitation is ending. There is a decision in your heart right now. You know exactly what it is. You have been postponing it. You have been negotiating with it. You have been hoping it will resolve itself without action. But it will not. Archangel Michael is not speaking softly today. He is speaking with clarity. The wings of protection are wide, but they do not cover rebellion. They do not cover prolonged delay. They do not cover conscious resistance to divine instruction. You were given signs. Repeatedly. You felt it in your spirit when you entered that room. You sensed it when you received that message. You knew it when that opportunity came, and something inside you whispered, "Be careful." That whisper was not anxiety. It was guidance. And still, you paused. Heaven allowed you a grace period, a sacred pause, a mercy window. But grace periods are not permanent. They are invitations. Right now, the spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting. What hath been restrained will soon be released. What has been delayed will begin to move. What has been held back for your sake is preparing to proceed. This is why you must listen. The protection of the wings is not merely about physical safety. It is about direction. It is about clarity. It is about being shielded from consequences that are avoidable. When you align with divine instruction, the wings surround you. When you ignore it repeatedly, the wings lift. Not in anger, but in respect for your choice. Archangel Michael is a guardian of divine order. He does not force obedience. He enforces alignment. And today, he is standing in the gap one final time, saying, "Decide." You feel the weight of this message because it is meant for you. There is a relationship that requires a boundary. There is an offer that requires discernment. There is a path that requires courage. There is a compromise that requires rejection. And you already know which one applies. Do not mistake silence for safety. Just because nothing has collapsed yet does not mean everything is secure. Just because consequences have not appeared does not mean they were canceled. They were paused. This is the final minute of mercy before movement begins. Look at your recent weeks. Notice the unusual tension, the repeated confirmations, the subtle warnings, the feeling that something is about to change. That is not imagination. That is spiritual transition. You were never meant to drift into destiny. You were meant to choose it. And hear this clearly. The wings are still open right now. The protection is still active right now. The grace is still available right now. But it requires your response. Heaven does not shout without reason. When urgency is sent, it is because delay has reached its limit. You have prayed for clarity. You have asked for signs. You have requested confirmation. This is it. Archangel Michael does not come with confusion. He comes with decisive energy, with firm protection, with unwavering loyalty to divine will. And he is asking you to match that firmness in your own life. Stop wavering. Stop postponing. Stop negotiating with what you already know is true. March 9th is not about fear. It is about alignment. It is about stepping fully under the wings instead of standing half in and half out. Partial obedience creates partial covering. Full obedience activates full protection. The next 60 seconds are symbolic. They represent the closing of hesitation. You are not being threatened. You are being awakened. The wings of protection are mighty. They have shielded you from things you will never fully understand. But they respond to faith in action. And your action is overdue. Take a breath. Feel the seriousness of this moment. Then choose correctly. Because once the grace period ends, events will begin to unfold at a pace you cannot slow down. And you will remember that you were warned, not to scare you, but to save you. The wings are still open. For now, beloved soul, the silence you are feeling right now is not emptiness. It is the stillness before movement. And in this stillness, heaven is watching your response. The 60 seconds spoken of are not about a ticking clock on your wall. They are about the narrowing window of opportunity that hath been held open for you by mercy. Archangel Michael stands firm, not with anger, but with unwavering authority, because what you decide now will echo into the coming months in ways you cannot yet see. There is something you have been tolerating that you were never meant to tolerate. You told yourself it was temporary. You told yourself you would handle it later. You told yourself you needed more confirmation. But how many confirmations does the soul require before obedience becomes the only honest response? The tension you have been carrying is not confusion. It is conviction. And conviction is a gift. It is proof that you are still being guided. Understand this clearly. When divine protection begins to lift, it does not happen dramatically at first. It happens subtly. Small inconveniences, minor delays, unexpected resistance. You begin to feel exposed in situations that once felt safe. This is not coincidence. It is the gentle signal that alignment is shifting. Archangel Michael's wings do not disappear suddenly. They rise slowly when the heart refuses correction. You have been given time. Time to pray. Time to reflect. Time to notice the pattern. But time is not meant to become an excuse. It is meant to become a bridge. And that bridge is now nearing its end. If you step forward in courage, the covering remains strong. If you step backward into delay, you step outside of the very shield that has preserved you. There is a reason this message feels intense. It is because the decision you are facing is not small. It affects your peace. It affects your calling. It affects the people connected to your destiny. When one person delays obedience, the ripple touches many lives. That is why heaven takes this seriously. Not to control you, but to protect the greater picture you cannot yet see. You may be wondering why such urgency. Why now? Because March 9th marks a shift in your spiritual cycle. Certain opportunities will not wait beyond this point. Certain exposures will come to light. Certain truth will surface. And if you are not positioned correctly, you will experience unnecessary turbulence. Protection does not eliminate all storms, but it positions you above destruction. Archangel Michael is not only a warrior, he is a guardian of timing. And timing is everything. When you move at the appointed moment, doors open with ease. When you hesitate past the window, the same doors require struggle. Grace makes things lighter. Delay makes them heavier. Right now, you still have grace. But grace must be honored. Deep within, you already know what must be done. It may require a conversation you have been avoiding. It may require declining an offer that flatters your ego but unsettles your spirit. It may require ending a cycle that feels comfortable but is spiritually draining. Whatever it is, the wings of protection are waiting for your alignment, not your perfection. Do not let pride disguise itself as patience. Do not let fear disguise itself as wisdom. True wisdom moves when instruction is clear. And let me speak directly to your heart for a moment. If this message is stirring something inside you, if you feel that quiet confirmation rising within, then do not keep this to yourself. Like this video so that this warning reaches others who are standing at their own spiritual deadlines. Share it with someone who have been hesitating in a crucial decision. Comment below what you feel you are being called to release or embrace. Your declaration strengthens your commitment. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that chooses alignment over delay. Join the membership if you are ready to walk deeper under divine covering. Hype this message, not for popularity, but for purpose. Because here is the truth. When you publicly align with what heaven is speaking, you reinforce your decision. Silence keeps you isolated. Declaration empowers you. Something significant is about to unfold, and you are not meant to face it unprepared. The next phase of your life will move quickly. Opportunities will arise suddenly. Truth will surface without warning. The question is not whether change is coming. The question is whether you will be under the wings when it does. Hold on, because what is about to be revealed next will expose why this decision carries consequences far greater than you imagine. You will want to understand what is truly at stake before this grace period fully closes. Chosen one, what is truly at stake is not just a decision. It is a revelation. The reason March 9th carries such weight is because something hidden is preparing to surface. And if you are not positioned correctly when it does, the impact will feel heavier than it was ever meant to be. Archangel Michael has been holding back a chain reaction that was set in motion long ago. Not to frighten you, but to give you one last opportunity to align before exposure begins. There is a truth orbiting your life right now. It concerns your environment. It concerns someone close. It concerns a situation you have sensed was not fully transparent. You dismissed the signs because you wanted peace. You ignored the inconsistencies because confrontation felt uncomfortable. But heaven does not ignore what threatens your destiny. The wings of protection have been shielding you from the consequences of another person's hidden intentions. Yes, read that again carefully. There has been manipulation around you. Not dramatic and not obvious, but subtle. Words slightly twisted. Information slightly withheld. Motive slightly masked. And you felt it. The small tightening in your spirit was not insecurity. It was discernment. Archangel Michael stands guard not only against visible danger, but against concealed agendas. And what is concealed is about to be revealed. If you step into alignment now, the exposure will work in your favor. You will see clearly. You will recognize patterns. You will be removed from harm before it escalates. But if you continue to hesitate, you may find yourself entangled in consequences that were never designed for you. This is why the grace period matters. Grace has been cushioning you. It has delayed conversations. It has postponed revelations. It has softened outcomes. But grace does not override free will. When heaven warns, it is because intervention has reached its limit. You may be asking, what exactly will be exposed? It may be a hidden motive in a relationship. It may be dishonesty in a professional setting. It may be a truth about a living situation or financial agreement. The details differ, but the pattern is the same. Something has been misaligned, and you have been given enough discernment to sense it. March 9th marks the moment when concealment loses its strength. But here is the deeper layer. This exposure is not only about someone else. It is also about you. It is about exposing your own hesitation, your own avoidance, your own compromise. Heaven is shining light in every direction, not to shame you, but to purify your path. Archangel Michael does not fight battles randomly. He fights to preserve divine order, and order requires truth. The protection of the wings has kept you from walking into a trap blindly. Yet protection cannot protect what insists on staying in darkness. If you choose clarity now, the wings remain steady. If you choose denial, the wings lift respectfully, allowing you to learn through consequence. But hear this with hope. You are not too late. The very fact that you are hearing this message means the door is still open. The warning is proof of care. The urgency is proof of value. Heaven does not issue final calls to those who are insignificant. You matter. Your future matters. Your calling matters. There is a rearrangement happening in the spiritual atmosphere. Alliances are shifting. Masks are weakening. Truth is rising. And when it fully surfaces, you will either stand secure under divine covering or exposed by your own delay. Take a breath and ask yourself honestly, what have I been avoiding that I know I must address? Where have I been settling when I should be setting boundaries? What truth have I sensed but not confronted? This is your moment. Alignment now will feel uncomfortable for a short time, but it will secure your long-term peace. Delay may feel comfortable for a moment, but it will complicate your future. Archangel Michael's presence around you is strong right now. The wings are not fragile. They are powerful, but they respond to decisive hearts. When you act in obedience, you activate reinforcement. When you stand in truth, you strengthen your shield. Do not wait for exposure to force your action. Choose clarity before it chooses you. If this message is piercing your spirit, then seal it with intention. Type "I stand in truth" in the comments if this is speaking directly to you. Blessing code 3911 has just been released over those who choose alignment today. And as this revelation settles into your heart, understand something sacred. When you respond to divine warning, you become part of a greater mission. If this message has awakened you, let your obedience also become a seed. When you sow through Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping light reach souls who are standing at their own spiritual deadlines. The Lord says, as you sow into my light, I will cause rivers to rise in your dry places. I feel led to act now, because I refuse to let another destiny drift unguarded. Your giving becomes oil that keeps this lamp burning across nations. Step into this prophetic moment and release your seed. Activate your obedience and partner in spreading this warning while the wings are still open. Faithful one, now that truth has been placed before you, the atmosphere around your life is shifting in response. You may not see it with your physical eyes yet, but in the unseen realm movement has already begun. Archangel Michael does not announce urgency without activating preparation. The moment this warning reached your ears, adjustments started forming in places you cannot detect. There is a divine rearrangement taking place. Some connections around you are being tested. Some opportunities are being weighed. Some influences are being measured against your calling. What once blended comfortably into your routine will begin to feel different. Conversations that used to seem normal may now feel strained. Invitations that once excited you may now feel heavy. This is not confusion. This is separation. When grace periods close, clarity increases. You are entering a phase where what is not aligned will struggle to remain near you. It will either transform or it will distance itself. And you must not chase what begins to fall away. The wings of protection do not only shield you from harm, they also filter your environment. When Archangel Michael adjusts positioning, he is precise. Nothing is random. In the coming days, pay attention to subtle shifts. Watch how people respond when you begin to stand firmer. Notice who respects your boundaries and who resists them. Observe which doors open smoothly and which ones suddenly become complicated. These are indicators. They are spiritual signals confirming whether you are moving under protection or drifting outside of it. There is also something deeper happening within you. The hesitation that once felt powerful is losing its grip. You may still feel nervous, but beneath the nervousness there is a strengthening resolve. That resolve is not self-generated. It is reinforced by divine presence. Archangel Michael's energy is not chaotic. It is stabilizing. It sharpens your discernment. It clears emotional fog. It brings boldness where fear once dominated. But boldness requires action. You cannot remain in contemplation forever. The spiritual realm responds to movement. When you take even one step in alignment, reinforcement multiplies. Assistance increases. Peace strengthens. But when you remain passive, uncertainty lingers. This is why the next few days are critical. They are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to solidify you. There may be a conversation that suddenly presents itself. There may be an unexpected revelation that confirms what you suspected. There may be a choice that demands immediate clarity. Do not panic when it happens. Remember this moment. Remember that you were prepared. Remember that the wings are still extended for those who act in truth. You are not being pushed into loss. You are being guided into protection. Sometimes protection looks like separation. Sometimes it looks like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like saying no when everything in your comfort zone wants to say yes. But long-term peace is always worth short-term discomfort. There is also a warning embedded here. If you ignore the signals again, if you silence your discernment once more, the next phase will not feel as gentle. Not because heaven has turned against you, but because you will be navigating without the same level of covering. The difference between protected correction and exposed consequence is significant. And yet, there is hope woven into this entire message. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone. Every delay you survived, every trap you unknowingly avoided, every sudden change that later proved beneficial, these were not coincidences. They were coordinated protection. The same coordination is active now, waiting for your cooperation. Ask yourself honestly, do I trust divine guidance enough to act on it? Trust is not proven in agreement. It is proven in obedience. The strength rising in you right now is evidence that you are capable of this decision. You would not be warned if you were powerless. You would not be awakened if you were incapable. The very intensity of this message confirms your capacity to respond correctly. Something significant is about to stabilize once you move. The anxiety that has lingered will begin to dissolve. The overthinking will quiet. The tension in your spirit will release. Clarity brings relief. And when you look back on this moment, you will realize that March 9th was not a threat. It was a turning point. It was the day you stopped negotiating with misalignment. It was the day you chose to remain under the wings rather than testing life without them. The atmosphere is charged, but it is also supportive. Archangel Michael is not withdrawing in this moment. He is watching for your step. The instant you take it, reinforcement increases. Protection strengthens. Your action sharpens. Prepare yourself. The next revelation will expose why this decision affects not only your present, but a larger assignment connected to your future. Steadfast heart, what you are standing in right now is not just a personal crossroads. It is a destiny intersection. The decision before you is connected to something far greater than your comfort, your schedule, or your temporary peace. It is tied to assignment. It is tied to influence. It is tied to a future moment where others will depend on the strength you are building today. You have underestimated how significant your obedience truly is. Archangel Michael is not guarding you only for your sake. He's guarding the calling attached to you. There are people you have not met yet who will one day need your clarity. There are doors not yet visible that require your current alignment to open. There are blessings prepared that can only land on stable ground. If the foundation is compromised, the weight of future favor becomes difficult to sustain. This is why Hedidasia has felt heavy lately. It is not just about right or wrong. It is about readiness. Imagine standing under vast wings that stretch beyond your vision. Those wings are not fragile feathers. They are symbols of authority, positioning, and jurisdiction. When you remain under them, you are within divine order. Outside of them, you are navigating on your own understanding. And your understanding, no matter how intelligent, cannot see the layers that heaven sees. There is something approaching your life that requires maturity. It may look like promotion. It may look like exposure. It may look like expansion. But expansion without alignment becomes pressure. Growth without correction becomes instability. A warning you received was not meant to intimidate you. It was meant to prepare you. There are unseen battles that never reached you because they were intercepted. There were conversations about you that dissolved before forming momentum. There were plans that shifted direction at the last minute in your favor. You truly believe all of that happened randomly. Protection had been active, consistent, intentional. But now you are being invited to partner with that protection consciously. The next phase of your life will not allow you to remain passive. The margin for indecision is shrinking because the level you are stepping into requires decisiveness. Archangel Michael does not escort hesitant leaders into higher territory. He fortifies those who are willing to stand firmly. If you feel pressure building, understand it correctly. Pressure can neither refine or cry. It depends on your response. When you choose alignment, pressure becomes preparation. When you choose delay, pressure becomes exposure. There is also a shift happening in how others perceive you. Some will begin to sense your change. Some will test your boundaries. Some will subtly challenge your firmness to see if it is temporary. Do not waver. Consistency solidifies authority. When you stand firm once, it is noticed. When you stand firm repeatedly, it is respected. This is not about becoming harsh. It is about becoming clear. Clarity removes confusion from your environment. And confusion has lingered long enough. You may feel a mixture of anticipation and discomfort. That is normal when destiny is adjusting. Growth rarely feels like ease at the beginning. It feels like stretching. But stretching increases capacity, And capacity is exactly what you are building. Archangel Michael's presence around you is strengthening your spiritual posture. You are being trained to discern quickly, to decide firmly, to respond without overanalyzing. The season of endless contemplation is ending. The season of strategic action is beginning. And there is something else you must understand. If you do not make this decision willingly, circumstances may force it later. And forced decisions often come with unnecessary loss. Willing obedience preserves what forceful correction cannot. That is why the grace period was extended. That is why the warning was clear. That is why the urgency was emphasized. You are capable of choosing wisely now. Close your eyes for a moment and picture your life 1 year from today. Do you see peace? Do you see stability? Do you see growth? A vision is not fantasy. It is potential. But potential requires alignment to become reality. Every major shift in your life began with a single courageous choice. This is another one of those moments. It may not look dramatic from the outside, but spiritually it is monumental. The wings are still over you. The covering is still active. The invitation is still open. But momentum is building. The next revelation will uncover how quickly events may accelerate once this decision is made, and why the acceleration will confirm whether you chose under protection or outside of it. Warrior of destiny, the shift you have been sensing is not imagination. It is acceleration gathering force behind the scenes. The moment you finalize this decision in alignment with divine instruction, movement will begin at a speed that may surprise you. Archangel Michael has not been standing still. He hath been holding back momentum until your footing becomes firm enough to sustain what is coming. You have interpreted certain delays as stagnation. You wondered why progress slowed. You questioned why answers seemed postponed. You felt as though something invisible was pressing pause on areas that once moved freely. But that pause was not denial. It was divine restraint. It was heaven preventing forward motion while a crucial internal adjustment remained unfinished. Acceleration without alignment leads to instability. But acceleration after obedience produces expansion with stability. The grace period that was extended to you was a buffered zone. It was sacred space where you could correct quietly before consequences became public. It was an opportunity to choose wisdom before exposure required it. Archangel Michael's wings were stretched wide, not only shielding you from harm, but holding circumstances in place until you decided. Now the atmosphere is tightening. If you act in alignment, acceleration will feel ordered. Opportunities will come with clarity. Doors will open without confusion attached. Conversations will unfold with surprising ease. The weight that has lingered in your chest will lift, replaced by a grounded confidence. You will sense reinforcement around you. That reinforcement is not emotional hype. It is structured protection. But if hesitation continues, acceleration will still occur, only it will feel chaotic. Situations will escalate rapidly. Misunderstandings will multiply. Pressure will intensify. You will find yourself reacting instead of leading. And you will recognize that movement without covering feels very different than movement under the wings. This is why precision matters now. You are entering a season where visibility increases. More people will notice your decisions. More responsibility will be entrusted to you. More influence will rest in your hands. Authority is forming around your life, but authority cannot coexist with compromise. Archangel Michael does not empower divided hearts. He fortifies decisive ones. Think about the areas where you have felt stretched recently. That stretching is preparation. Your capacity is expanding. But expansion requires integrity. If cracks remain in the foundation, acceleration will expose them. If the foundation is reinforced through obedience, acceleration will elevate you instead of destabilizing you. You have already seen small previews of this pattern in your past. When you followed discernment quickly, things aligned smoothly afterward. Be solid obedience. But when you ignored that inner signal, complications emerge. Anxiety followed delay. These patterns were lessons, and this moment is the final exam before promotion. Do not misinterpret urgency as aggression. Urgency is clarity intensified. Archangel Michael's presence carries firmness because what is ahead cannot be handled casually. The next wave of movement will demand quick decisions, sharp awareness, and unwavering boundaries. The time of endless contemplation is ending. The time of strategic action is beginning. When you take this step, something spiritual locks into place. Momentum that was restrained will be released in your favor. Stalled conversations will resolve. Lingering uncertainty will dissolve. You will notice synchronicities aligning with unusual precision. That is acceleration under protection. But understand this deeply. Protection does not mean absence of challenge. It means authority within challenge. It means standing steady while movement increases around you. Pause for a moment and examine your heart. Are you ready to carry greater influence? Are you prepared for doors that require confidence instead of hesitation? The decision before you is not about losing something small. It is about proving readiness for something larger. And let me speak directly to you within this growing spiritual family. If this message is sharpening your discernment and awakening your courage, engage with it actively. Like this video so that this warning reaches others standing at critical crossroads. Share it with someone who has been delaying a necessary choice. Comment below if you sense acceleration building around your life right now. Subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to timely guidance like this. Join the membership if you are serious about walking deeper under spiritual covering. Hype this message with purpose, because someone's breakthrough may depend on hearing it before their own grace period expires. Engagement is not about numbers. It is about impact. Acceleration is already forming at the edges of your circumstances. You may notice heightened intuition. You may sense conversations shifting. You may feel a sudden urgency to organize, clarify, or resolve unfinished matters. These are signs that movement is approaching. When the defining moment arrives, and it will, you will recognize it instantly. A conversation will demand firmness. An opportunity will require a clear yes or no. A truth will surface that confirms everything you sensed. In that moment, do not retreat into overthinking. Stand firm. Choose alignment. Step fully under the wings. Because what unfolds next will reveal the spiritual authority that has been forming around you, and why that authority cannot be sustained by compromise. Elect of heaven, what is forming around you right now is not temporary motivation. It is spiritual authority taking shape. Authority is not loud, and it is not forced. It settles quietly, like armor placed on shoulders that are finally strong enough to carry it. Archangel Michael does not stand beside those who are content with half decisions. His presence signals preparation for weight, for responsibility, for influence that must be handled with precision. And weight changes everything. You have felt this shift in subtle ways. Conversations that once felt equal now feel imbalanced. Environments that once energized you now feel limiting. Certain jokes, compromises, and casual agreements no longer sit well in your spirit. This is not you becoming distant. It is you becoming elevated. When authority forms, tolerance for misalignment decreases naturally. The decision before you is directly connected to this elevation. If compromise remains, authority becomes heavy. It feels like pressure without clarity. But if alignment is established, authority feels steady. It feels natural. It feels like standing taller without forcing posture. Archangel Michael's wings do not own a shield. They establish rank. And rank requires discipline. There is refinement happening within you that others may not even see. Your thoughts are being challenged. Your private habits are being examined. Your motives are being purified. You are being stretched in areas where no one applauds you. This is how true authority is built, in private correction before public recognition. You may have wondered why small issues have felt amplified recently, why minor inconsistencies around you suddenly stand out, why your discernment feels sharper than before. That sharpening is intentional. It is preparation for leadership in situations where clarity will be essential. Authority cannot coexist with denial. If you see a pattern clearly and ignore it, you weaken your own foundation. If you sense manipulation and tolerate it, you compromise your jurisdiction. The wings of protection strengthen decisive hearts, not hesitant ones. In the coming days, you will notice something distinct. People will begin responding differently to you. Some will sense your firmness and respect it. They will adjust their tone. They will approach you with more honesty. Others may subtly resist. They may test whether your boundaries are permanent or temporary. They may attempt to reintroduce old dynamics to see if you still accept them. This is where authority becomes visible. Consistency is proof. When you remain steady under pressure, your environment recalibrates around you. When you waver, confusion returns. Archangel Michael's covering operates through order, and order must be maintained through disciplined response. There is a larger assignment attached to your name. You feel it in moments of quiet reflection. You sense that your life carries more weight than ordinary routine. That feeling is not imagination. It is awareness of purpose, and purpose demands maturity. The decision you make now is not only about resolving discomfort. It is about proving readiness. Readiness for influence. Readiness for increased visibility. Readiness for responsibility that cannot be handled casually. Imagine stepping into a room where your words carry impact, where your presence shifts atmosphere, where your decisions affect outcomes beyond yourself. That level of authority requires inner alignment. Without it, the pressure would crush you. With it, the pressure strengthens you. Archangel Michael stands in realms where battles are won through precision, not emotion. And you are being invited into that same precision. Emotional reactions must give way to strategic responses. Temporary comfort must give way to long-term positioning. You may feel moments of loneliness during this transition, not because you are abandoned, but because elevation separates. Not everyone can ascend with you. Some relationships will adjust. Some will fade. Some will strengthen in healthy ways. Do not resist this sorting process. It is part of protection. Authority also requires restraint. There will be opportunities soon where you could respond sharply, where you could expose what you see immediately. But wisdom will guide you on when to speak and when to remain silent. Protection is not reckless, it is calculated. Pay attention to how your spirit reacts in situations moving forward. If something feels off, do not dismiss it. If clarity comes quickly, do not overanalyze it away. The sharpening of your discernment is a gift. It is reinforcement preparing you for greater terrain. And understand this clearly: once authority stabilizes around you, compromise becomes more costly. What you once tolerated lightly will now drain you heavily. What you once ignored easily will now disturb your peace. This is evidence that you are no longer meant for lower alignment. A defining interaction is approaching. It may appear ordinary on the surface. A discussion, a request, a proposal. But spiritually, it will be a confirmation moment. How you respond will solidify your position either fully under the wings or partially outside of them. Stand firm when it happens, because what unfolds next will reveal how your environment adjusts when it realizes you are no longer available for compromise, and how that adjustment will confirm the strength and reach of the wings covering you. Chosen vessel, the moment of confirmation is closer than you realize. You will not have to search for it. It will present itself. A conversation will shift in tone. A hidden truth will surface unexpectedly. An offer will reveal its real cost. And in that instant, everything spoken to you in these warnings will make sense with startling clarity. This is the unveiling. Archangel Michael has not been preparing you for nothing. The sharpening of your discernment, the discomfort with compromise, the urgency surrounding March 9th, all of it hath been leading to this intersection. When the defining interaction arrives, you will feel it immediately. Time will seem to slow. Your thoughts will become unusually clear. The emotional fog that once surrounded the issue will lift. And you will know. You will recognize whether the person before you carries sincerity or subtle manipulation. You will sense whether the opportunity aligns with your calling or competes with it. You will discern whether staying silent protects peace or protects dysfunction. That clarity will be your evidence that the wings are still covering you. But clarity demands response. If you hesitate in that defining moment, you will feel a shift internally. Not dramatic, but noticeable. A slight withdrawal of ease. A subtle increase in tension. That is not punishment. It is the signal that protection responds to decisive obedience. There is something important to understand here. Exposure is not destruction. Exposure is illumination. What is about to surface in your life has likely been present for longer than you realized. The difference is that now you are strong enough to see it without denial. Archangel Michael's role is not only to defend but to reveal what threatens divine order. When disorder hides beneath politeness or familiarity, it can linger undetected. But when light intensifies, shadows lose their comfort. The unveiling may surprise you. It may confirm suspicions you buried months ago. It may validate feelings you doubted. It may even disappoint you. But disappointment is temporary. Misalignment prolonged is far more costly. In this phase, restraint is as important as boldness. You do not need to react impulsively. You do not need to prove your awareness loudly. Authority is calm. Authority is steady. Authority speaks when necessary and remains silent when strategic. You are being elevated into that posture. As this revelation unfolds, you may notice something else. Your confidence will feel different. Not inflated, not aggressive, but grounded. That grounded strength is a direct result of choosing alignment earlier. It is the reward of obedience. And if you are listening to this right now, feeling your spirit resonate with these words, do not dismiss the significance of that resonance. Type "I walk in authority" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8246 has just been released over those who stand firm in their defining moment. There is power in agreement. When you declare alignment publicly, you reinforce it privately. And now listen carefully, because this moment is not only about your personal breakthrough. When you respond correctly to this unveiling, you become evidence that obedience brings protection. Others who watch your life will notice the stability that follows your courage. They will sense the peace that comes from decisive alignment. And this is where mission expands. If this message has strengthened you, let your response extend beyond words. When you sow through Super Thanks, step into membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are not funding content. You are fueling revelation for souls standing at their own unveiling. The Lord declares, as you release seed into my light, I will cause harvest to rise in unseen places. I feel led to act now because I refuse to let another destiny remain in darkness. Your giving becomes oil that keeps this flame burning across nations. Step forward in obedience and activate your seed as a prophetic act. Release it with faith and watch how heaven responds. The unveiling will not last long. Once truth surfaces, momentum will increase. Decisions will be finalized. Alignments will solidify. And you will look back at this moment as the turning point where everything clarified. Prepare yourself, because what happens after this exposure will determine who remains in your life, who exits quietly, and who was only present for a season of testing under the wings. Faithful one, after the unveiling comes the realignment. Exposure is only the beginning. What follows is the quiet restructuring of your world. When truth rises to the surface, it does not leave everything as it was. It rearranges relationships. It redefines conversations. It regrows boundaries. Archangel Michael's wings do not simply reveal disorder. They enforce separation between what protects your destiny and what threatens it. You may already feel the shift beginning. There is a subtle calm entering spaces that once felt tense. At the same time, there may be unexpected distance forming where closeness once seemed natural. Do not panic when this happens. Light creates division naturally. When clarity enters a room, everything that relied on confusion begins to feel uncomfortable. You are not losing stability. You are gaining it. Still, there will be emotional layers to process. Even misaligned attachments can feel meaningful. Even unhealthy patterns can feel familiar. Familiarity builds comfort, and comfort can disguise compromise. But you must remember this: comfort is not always protection. Sometimes comfort is the very thing that keeps you outside the wings. As separation unfolds, you may notice subtle attempts to reverse what was revealed. Explanations may be offered. Stories may be reframed. Promises may be made quickly. There may be emotional appeals designed to soften your boundaries. This is not necessarily malicious. Sometimes it is fear from others who sense that your tolerance has ended. Archangel Michael strengthens discernment in this phase. You will feel the difference between genuine repentance and strategic adjustment. Genuine change carries humility and consistency. Strategic adjustment carries urgency and performance. Do not allow guilt to override clarity. You were given revelation for a reason. Ignoring it now would be stepping back into a space you were delivered from. The wings of protection expand when you honor truth. They lift when you negotiate with what was clearly exposed. There is also a quieter transformation happening within you. You are learning to trust yourself again. Every time you respond to discernment instead of dismissing it, you rebuild inner authority. That authority becomes part of your spiritual posture. It changes how you walk into rooms. It changes how you speak. It changes what you tolerate. You may feel moments of loneliness as certain dynamics fade. That loneliness is temporary. It is the space between old alignment and new connection. Do not rush to fill it. Silence can be sacred. Space can be healing. As the dust settles, you will notice a new atmosphere forming around you. Conversations will become more direct. Interactions will feel cleaner. Energy that once drained you will no longer have access. This is not coincidence. It is protection recalibrated. But understand this carefully. there may be one final test. An opportunity could appear that resembles the old pattern, but presents itself with slight improvement. A person may return with refined words but unchanged foundation. A situation may promise stability while still carrying subtle instability. This moment will not be dramatic. It will be subtle, and it will test whether your authority is rooted or reactive. Pause when it happens. Feel the difference between emotional pull and spiritual peace. Emotional pull feels urgent, nostalgic, persuasive. Spiritual peace feels steady, grounded, unforced. Choose what feels steady. Choose what feels clean. You are no longer who you were at the beginning of this cycle. The grace period existed because growth was still unfolding. Now growth has matured into awareness. And awareness requires maintenance. Archangel Michael's presence around you now feels different than it did at the warning stage. He is less urgent and more structured, less intense and more fortified. That shift is your confirmation that obedience has activated reinforcement. However, do not become careless. Protection is strong, but it partners with vigilance. Continue to respond quickly to misalignment. Do not let small compromises creep back in quietly. Authority must be guarded once it is established. You may also begin to see tangible evidence of your decision. Opportunities that align with your values will approach more naturally. Conversations that once felt strained will no longer concern you because they are no longer yours to manage. The weight that lingered in your chest will feel lighter. Peace will begin to feel sustainable rather than temporary. This is the fruit of alignment. And as this new stability settles in, you will recognize something powerful. Living under the wings does not eliminate responsibility, but it transforms how responsibility feels. It becomes purposeful rather than burdensome. The next shift will not focus on what leaves your life. It will focus on what enters it. Because once separation completes its work, reward begins to manifest. Prepare yourself, because what is about to enter your life will demonstrate the undeniable difference between navigating alone and moving fully under the protection of the wings. Triumphant one, now comes visible confirmation. The season of warning has shifted into the season of evidence. What was once internal tension is transforming into external stability. Archangel Michael did not guard you through urgency and exposure merely to leave you in neutrality. Protection always has purpose, and purpose always produces fruit. You are about to see the difference clearly between living under the wings and standing outside of them. The areas of your life that felt delayed will begin to move with an unexpected smoothness. Situations that once drained your energy will no longer have access to it. Conversations that previously required emotional preparation will unfold with calm authority. This is not coincidence. It is alignment manifesting. When you chose firmness over familiarity, something locked into place spiritually. That locking was not symbolic. It was structural. The wings that once felt as though they were hovering cautiously are now settled with strength. You may even sense a new steadiness in your posture. You think differently. You respond differently. You no longer negotiate with what your discernment clearly rejects. This is growth confirmed. But with confirmation comes increased visibility. When stability surrounds you, others notice. Some will be inspired by your clarity. Some will feel unsettled by your boundaries. Some may attempt to test whether your change is temporary. Do not be distracted by these reactions. Your responsibility is not to manage perception. It is to maintain position. Archangel Michael's presence around you now carries a different tone. It is no longer primarily warning. It is reinforcement. The urgency that once pressed on you has shifted into structured protection. You feel less reactive, less uncertain, more decisive. That internal shift is evidence that the grace period was honored. However, momentum is building again, and this time it carries expansion. Doors that were once inaccessible are beginning to open quietly. Opportunities that previously seemed premature now feel aligned. Conversations that would have overwhelmed you before now feel manageable. You are stepping into a level of responsibility that requires the authority you just developed. Do not shrink back from it. There may be a temptation to minimize your strength so that others remain comfortable around you. Resist that impulse. True humility does not mean reducing your growth. It means carrying your authority without arrogance. Authority rooted in obedience carries a quiet confidence that does not need to dominate. You will also notice that your words carry greater impact. Be mindful of what you declare over your life in this phase. Do not casually reintroduce doubt. Do not speak instability over the very structure that has just been fortified. What you confess now reinforces the atmosphere around you. Momentum will increase steadily. You may feel ideas forming that once felt intimidating. You may sense boldness rising where hesitation once lived. That boldness is not reckless ambition. It is reinforced confidence under divine covering. Let me pause here and speak directly to you within this community. If you can already see the difference that alignment has produced, do not stay silent. Like this video so others at their crossroads can witness what obedience unlocks. Share it with someone who is still wavering in their decision. Comment below if you are experiencing new stability or unexpected opportunities after choosing firmness. Subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to messages that sharpen your discernment. Join the membership if you are ready to grow deeper in understanding how to live consistently under spiritual covering. Hype this message with intention, because your engagement may place this warning in front of someone whose grace period is about to close. You are not merely consuming words. You are participating in impact. As expansion unfolds, remember that growth must remain aligned. Success can subtly reintroduce compromise if vigilance fades. The same discernment that guided you through exposure must guide you through promotion. Protection is not a one-time event. It is a maintained position. There will soon be a defining opportunity that confirms everything shifted. It may arrive as recognition. It may appear as a partnership. It may manifest as a breakthrough that once felt impossible. When it comes, you will recognize it by one key indicator: peace. It will not require you to override discernment. It will not ask you to tolerate instability. It will feel clean, ordered, and sustainable. That is how you will know the wings are firmly over you. And yet, there is one final revelation that must be understood. You were closer than you realized to stepping outside of this covering permanently. The urgency at the beginning was not exaggerated. It was precise. Prepare yourself, because the next message will reveal how narrowly you avoided a shift that could have altered your path, and why gratitude must now replace hesitation as you move forward under strength and protection. Beloved guardian in training, you must understand how precise this entire sequence has been. Nothing about the urgency you experienced was exaggerated. Nothing was emotional drama. It was measured, calculated, timed. You were approaching a spiritual boundary that, once crossed, would not have caused immediate collapse, but would have initiated gradual withdrawal of reinforcement. Archangel Michael does not abandon those he protects, but protection operates within divine order. When instruction is repeated and consistently ignored, distance begins to form. Not because you are unloved, but because free will is honored. You were nearing that subtle distance. If you had continued postponing your decision, the change would have been almost invisible at first. Opportunities would have appeared that seemed impressive but carried instability beneath the surface. Conversations would have deepened that slowly eroded your peace. Commitments would have formed that demanded more compromise than you initially noticed. Nothing dramatic, nothing alarming, just a steady normalization of what once disturbed your spirit. And normalization is powerful. What you repeatedly tolerate eventually feels ordinary. What feels ordinary eventually feels acceptable. What feels acceptable eventually reshapes identity. That is how destiny shifts quietly, not through sudden destruction, but through gradual adjustment of standards. You were dangerously close to adjusting your standards. You were building logic around your hesitation. You were telling yourself that waiting longer was wisdom. You were searching for additional signs when clarity had already been provided. Had that pattern continued, discernment would have dulled. Conviction would have softened. And the wings would have remained present but less active. Active protection requires active alignment. The grace period was a mercy buffer. It was time extended so you could correct privately before consequences became visible. If that buffer had expired, events would have accelerated without the same level of covering. You would have navigated pressure without reinforcement. You would have carried responsibility without stability. And you might not have realized why things felt heavier. That is the sobering truth. But you responded. Before erosion became identity, you chose correction. Before compromise became normal, you chose clarity. A decision interrupted a downward drift and re-established order. Archangel Michael's wings did not need to retract because you stepped back into alignment willingly. Now gratitude must anchor this lesson permanently. You are not under protection because you never hesitated. You are under protection because you refuse to let hesitation define you. That humility will safeguard your future more than fear ever could. Fear creates temporary obedience. Gratitude creates lasting transformation. Take a moment to imagine the alternative timeline. Imagine agreements signed under pressure. Imagine emotional entanglements deepening without peace. Imagine waking up months from now feeling subtly drained, subtly compromised, subtly unstable. The path was forming quietly. Now look at where you stand instead. Here is steadiness returning. Here is clarity strengthening. Here is confidence rebuilding. That contrast is evidence of mercy. You have also gained something invaluable, sharpened discernment. You now recognize how comfort can disguise compromise. You understand how delay can appear wise while quietly weakening conviction. You see how small misalignments, if tolerated long enough, reshape direction. This awareness is not meant to make you anxious. It is meant to make you alert. Moving forward, remain attentive without becoming fearful. Protection does not require paranoia. It requires consistency. Continue responding promptly when your spirit senses misalignment. Do not allow minor compromises to re-enter through subtle doors. Authority must be maintained deliberately. There will be smaller tests ahead. They will not carry the same weight as this one. They will function as confirmations of growth. Each time you respond quickly, your authority strengthens. Each time you honor discernment without negotiation, the covering feels more secure. You preserved more than peace through your obedience. You preserved capacity. You preserved timing. You preserved opportunities that would have been complicated under misalignment. Doors that could have closed permanently remain available because you corrected early. This season was not merely about avoiding loss. It was about establishing a new internal standard. A standard where clarity is acted upon swiftly. A standard where compromise is recognized immediately. A standard where protection is partnered with consciously. Archangel Michael's presence around you now feels structured and steady. Not urgent, not intense, But that anchoring is proof that the threshold you approached was not crossed. The final message will seal this shift completely. It will mark the transition from warning to established elevation. You did not endure this intensity just to survive it. You endured it to emerge stronger, sharper, and permanently positioned under the wings. Prepare yourself, because what comes next will not simply confirm protection. It will release a blessing that demonstrates this entire season was a gateway into greater authority. My steadfast child, this is the sealing moment. Everything you have walked through in this season, the urgency, the warning, the exposure, the separation, the confirmation, was not random movement. It was divine orchestration. March 9th was never just a date. It was a dividing line, a spiritual jetway, a moment where hesitation could have cost you covering, and obedience secured it permanently. You were not simply warned. You were rescued from drift. Archangel Michael's wings over your life are no longer hovering in caution. They are established in authority. The threshold you approached has now become a testimony. What almost shifted you out of protection has instead anchored you deeper within it. But hear this clearly. The lesson must now become lifestyle. This cannot remain a powerful moment you remember emotionally. It must become a standard you live by consistently. The protection of the wings is not maintained by one dramatic act of obedience. It is maintained by daily alignment. Immediate response. Refusal to negotiate with what disturbs your discernment. You now understand something many never learn. Delay is not neutral. It shapes direction. Because you responded when you did, consequences were rerouted. Because you chose clarity, confusion lost access. Because you honored conviction, authority increased. This is the shift. You are stepping into a season where your stability will influence others. People will not just hear your words, they will feel your grounded presence. They will sense that you walk with structure. They will recognize that you no longer tolerate subtle compromise. And some will ask you how you became so firm. You will know the answer. It was the moment you decided the wings were worth more than comfort. There will still be decisions ahead. There will still be moments requiring discernment. But they will not feel as chaotic as before. Why? Because you have crossed from hesitation into discipline, from wavering into awareness, from reaction into authority. And here is the final revelation. The warning that said you could lose the protection of the wings was not a threat. It was mercy revealing how serious your calling truly is. Heaven does not issue final calls to ordinary assignments. The intensity matched your destiny. You were close to losing reinforcement not because you are weak, but because you are influential. What surrounds you spiritually reflects what rests on you spiritually. And now, instead of retreat, you have reinforcement. Instead of erosion, you have elevation. Instead of drift, you have direction. So seal this moment with intention. Type "I remain under the wings" in the comments if this transformation is real in your life. Blessing code 5702 is now activated over those who choose daily alignment over temporary comfort. Let this not be emotion. Let it be covenant. And as this message closes, understand something deeper. The same urgency that saved you is reaching others right now. There are souls standing at their own 60-second window. There are destinies drifting quietly. There are hearts waiting for a warning strong enough to wake them. When you act, you help light reach them. The Lord declares, "As you sow into my work, I will cause protection to multiply around your household." I feel led to move now because I know this message was not only for me, it is for countless others standing at the edge. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or so through the PayPal link in the description. You are not giving to a channel. You are releasing seed into fertile ground where warnings become rescue and hesitation becomes alignment. Your seed becomes oil that keeps this lamp burning across nations. Do not delay your obedience in this moment. Activate your support now and partner in spreading this covering while the wings are still extended. This season is sealed. Walk forward under the wings and do not step out again.